I like the Jorge Masvidal fight over the Gilbert Burns fight. Just off top, just because it's more cachet. I think it's more fitting for International Fight Week because that's supposed to be the big most exciting fights, and not that Usman and Gilbert Burns wasn't an exciting fight, but there wasn't no real beef. Like the storyline behind it is was not all that, in my opinion, anyway. Whenever you look at they were former teammates. They ain't really got no bad blood, so on and so forth. So it's kind of hard to get. In my opinion, I with that fight on the thing, I would have been cool with Max and Volkanovski being the headliner over that. But when you throw in Jorge Masvidal in the mix, it just amplifies everything. And I don't know what they're going to do with numbers, but you got to expect the numbers to go up as far as pay-per-view buys with Masvidal in the mix. And Masvidal got his money. He finally finna be in a situation to where are you now transcendent star? We finna find out what your numbers gonna look like. You know, can you have the big win? I think people compare his rise a little bit to Conor's rise, but you know, Conor was in some fights where he was, kind of doubted, and he ended up shocking people by winning. So, and I mean not Usman, but Masvidal's in that situation right now to where Usman, at least nobody I've seen, have been really picking him. So I don't know. It's high stakes.
Yeah, it's definitely high stakes. But you know what? I just feel like in a weird way, the MMA guys kind of made this happen because this is the fight that was supposed to happen from the rip. You know, after everything went down. I mean, even after, if you go back to last year when Kobe didn't want to fight Usman and all the dates was getting pushed back, Jorge was campaigning to, fight at MSG, and then a lot of shit's happened since then. But I just think like in totality, I just feel like this is the fight that's supposed to be, and it's
Yeah.
not as perfect as it should have been as far as like having a camp. I feel like the narrative is kind of a little bit distorted as far as like, oh, Jorge's coming in on short notice, 6 days. He had a camp for this. He brought in specific personnel in hopes and in regards to this fight. So I think he's well prepared. I mean, he may have not stayed all the way through camp, but I think he's more than enough. He's more than like prepared, opposed to like some of the famous, short notice fights like a Bisping or Nate Diaz on like, coming off the boat. So I don't know. My biggest concern as far as these two, specifically Jorge and Kamaru, is just kind of the circumstances actually getting to Abu Dhabi. Like, they missed the initial plane there. Usman is, he said he was pigging out, eating Nigerian food. And,
Yes.
so I'm hoping just, kind of the stuff that people don't really keep an eye on, but kind of the stuff that surrounds fight, because, we'll look all into the details. So as far as like the weight cut and then, getting there late and having to cut weight and jet lag and the time change and etc. I'm kind of wondering if that's going to play any type of factor in this fight.
I'm worried about the weight cut, to be honest, and not so much Jorge Masvidal. I know the boys on ESPN, Stephen A. Them tripping out over a 20-pound weight cut, which I mean that's so ESPN that's so ESPN these days. But like, I'm not really worried about his that much, and I seen him trolling, talking about he was eating a pizza today. I think he put
Stopping
that
in
on his
Rome, getting
Instagram.
pizza or
Yeah,
something. Yep.
exactly. I'm not really worried about his cut, to be honest, because I mean he's already he got a smaller frame, and I mean he was cutting the 155. Like he gonna get the 170 easy. I'm worried about Usman though, bro. Like Usman,
Yeah.
he's had some tough ass weight cuts over the years. Like on video, I think what is it, Anatomy of a Fighter,
Yep.
had him in a hotel damn near dead. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm kind of worried about Usman's weight cut, considering how he was talking about how much he was pigging out or eating so much. You know what I'm saying? Like that's kind of what I'm worried about. But like I'm gonna cross my fingers and hope we get there. But as far whenever I look at the fight though, like kind of going into like what I think is gonna happen and stuff like that, I don't I, I don't think Usman is just gonna go in and ragdoll him. I've seen a lot of the people who's already put out their prediction videos, and a lot of people, most people I seen was picking Usman. And they should. Logic will tell you that he has the advantage. He's already been in the training camp. I mean, I understand Jorge was preparing to fight at this time also, but he was not. It's different when you train for a fight versus you just being training. And I'm not saying he wasn't training for a fight in the beginning, but hell, he found out 5 weeks out that he wasn't going to be. They had moved on, and Gilbert Burns was going to get the shot. So he was kind of like, shit, I'm a train. I mean, he gonna train, but it's not as intentional as what Usman was doing. But here's the thing, I think a lot of people haven't really touched on this enough, but Usman got an ego, bro. And Jorge Masvidal's talk about, I think the first thing he said was he's gonna be a magnet to my crotch or something like that. He said something like that a while back, talking about Usman just gonna come in and wrestle him. But whenever you look at it, I think Usman's ego might play a factor, and he may stand up with him, and that might give Jorge a chance. Because here's the thing, like Usman showed what he showed against Colby, bro. He can be hit. He can be hit a lot. And Colby's not a bad striker by any means, but he's also not cream of the crop up there with the top guys. And he's also not arguably the best boxer in the division, or maybe even in the UFC like Jorge Masvidal is. So, like, I mean, I don't know. I don't want to underestimate Masvidal's chances in this whole thing, because I think Usman going to play the stand-up game with him a little bit.
I'm not necessarily underestimating Masvidal's chances, but for what I'm looking at the fight, if I'm just weighing skills and kind of like their attributes and their tendencies all together, I have to favor Usman, and pretty significantly. Like, I think he's going to be able to impose his will more often. Like, I don't really buy this ego thing, because, you would have to be really weak-minded or like really arrogant. Like, you would have to tip the scale either way to like have somebody try to like say something to throw you off track. I've heard, of course, Masvidal said this about Ben Askren. Then he went and said this about now he's saying it about Usman. I don't know that Usman is gonna just stand there. Like, of course, there's gonna be some aspects of him standing. I don't expect him to just be shooting all 25 minutes or however long the fight lasts. But I do, just from like, I went back and I watched a lot of Jorge Masvidal's fights, and it's not like he controls the center of the octagon. Like, he, often is behind the tracks, so to speak, in the octagon. And I just think, and especially with Usman, who's a dude that has a lot of forward pressure, and he's not often on his back foot. He's moving forward almost at all times. So I just think if that is the case, if Masvidal does have his back to the cage and is behind the tracks, I think that just plays too much into Usman's game. Now, either way, even if it's striking, or even if it allows him to strike and put him against the fence. Because there's been a lot of times, I look back in the Nate fight, outside of him dropping Nate, there was a lot of clinching there. There was some clinching. There was some clinching in
Darren Till.
The Darren Till fight.
Yeah.
And he got dropped behind the tracks. You know what I'm saying? So I just think a lot of what their tendencies plays into what Usman does. Because, I mean, we can look at the Tyron Woodley fight. Woodley often doesn't cross the tracks, and it's usually his Achilles heel in a lot of these fights. And what Usman do? He sat there, put him against the fence, and just beat up on his body all day, took him down. And I just think if you give him that many chances to imply his game plan, it's a good thing. And another thing about his ego, I think this is underrated. The first day I know we kind of talked about this, like, in the group chat and everything else, but the first time I've heard it through like other outlets in the media is people finally mentioning Trevor Whitman, and we forgot, or we don't mention how good of a coach he is. At first, I was kind of slow on the change of Justin Gaethje, and now to see the change of this brawler to now a more technically advanced head movement, defensive, and counter fighter, it's been very impressive. Look at him with like the other fighters he has. He just is doing such a great job. So I think with Usman, I think he's going to be able to speak to him and not have his ego play into like a stand-up striking war with with Masvidal if it doesn't need to call for it. If he's not dropped early and has to fight for his life where he's down 3 rounds and there's no need for him to, wrestle for the last 2. So I think Trevor Whitman will have him on the right track. I think Usman's going to be able just, with both of their tendencies, I think they're going to be able to I think Usman's going to be able to employ his game plan. I think he's going to be able to control the fight.
Well, bro, like, here's the thing. Like, my pick, I'm gonna pick Usman, but I'm gonna make it. I want to make a case. I want to make a case for Jorge Masvidal. I agree with. I mean, nothing you said was wrong as it pertains to him being on the warning track all the time. Him not. I just don't think he want. I don't think he's. There's some fighters that have to fight, or who are significantly better whenever they're dictating the space, whenever they're dictating the range necessarily. I don't think Masvidal is one of those people who gives a damn. Like, he's comfortable off his back foot. He's comfortable going back. I think his defense gets worse when he's going backwards, but he's comfortable going backwards. He's comfortable fighting off the cage. I mean, behind the warning track anyway. He's also comfortable going forward. He's a lot more effective going forward as well, but I just don't think it's that big of a deal to him. Now, as it pertains, as that relates to what Usman's going to do, in theory, yeah, it does play right into what Usman wants to do, wants to beat you up, put you against the case, so on and so forth. But here's my thing, bro. Whenever I mention ego, I'm more so talking about, like, Usman also got a chip on his shoulder, because I think he understands that he's respected in the MMA community, but I don't think he really feels that respect from the fans. I don't think, well, maybe the diehards, but he's not transcendent and picking up those casuals that a Jorge Masvidal has. I seen him his interview with Brett. The first thing he talked about was that I'm uncomfortable with the narrative that's already being spread with. He's coming. They're building all these excuses for Jorge. We'll do all that. Like, yeah, I think he's saying that because part of him envies the fact that Jorge has crossed into casual land, and Jorge has crossed into all this money, so on and so forth. Usman's talked about money before. He cares. He wears a Gucci hat all the time. Like, Usman tries to do that. So I think he understands that he needs him controlling him and having a finish off crouch sniffing, not even a finish, but a decision off crouch sniffing or heavy wrestling affair. I think he's gonna be like, you know what? I think I'm better than this dude everywhere, and I'm gonna try to knock him out, and which he very well may do. I guarantee you that there's a part of him saying, like, Masvidal's never been, because he's never been finished before, right? No.
Masvidal, no.
No, that's what I'm saying.
Well, he's been finished, but not in the UFC.
In the UFC, exactly. So I know a part of him is like, I want to be the one to finish this dude. He kept saying, oh, everybody thinks he's this big gangster. He's this, he's that. And he kept basically trying to say, like, he ain't really about that. And I think part of Usman is going to try to expose that. And I whenever we're talking about expose that, I think part of him is going to be like, yeah, bro, I'm gonna touch you up with them hands too. Like, I just think that, and like I said, I'm not saying, I still think with me knowing that, I still gonna take Usman. But if I'm making a case for Jorge Masvidal, that shit right there can get him in trouble and get his ass knocked out.
See, but I just feel like there's been a narrative against Usman for the longest. Like, I feel like that's been said to him before. Like, even with Tyron Woodley, he was saying, well, I just don't want to fight a switch stance wrestler. He's going to just try to wrestle me. Is he going to take me down? No, he's not going to take me down. And I just don't feel like it's like going to play into him trying to, like, what you say in the bigger picture, I feel like would be a big deal if I hadn't seen this already from him. Like, I feel like we've heard this narrative about him already. Like, I don't know that this is going to be the fight where he's going to throw, or he's going to, like, try to, show that he's much more versatile. Because, I mean, he went on, what was it, Joe Rogan podcast, and he, explained, like, yeah, I could strike. And I think he was talking about he can do a whole bunch of, kicks and all this other stuff, which I feel like, yeah, there's a chip on his shoulder because nobody wants to just be one-dimensional and be, oh, you're just this, you're just that. I feel like he will do that on his terms, though. It's not going to be, well, all right, Jorge, let me show you that I can do this when you want to do this too. Like, I'm just a better outright striker. No, I don't think that's going to be the case. I don't know that I don't know that Masvidal's going to – I don't know that his words are going to play that much of a factor. I don't know that his Usman's ego is going to be tested that much to where he has to, prove to the world and to Masvidal and to, the casuals who are, tuning in, buying because Masvidal's made all this noise that, look, I'm no striker. I'm not just a crotch sniffer. So we'll see.
We're going to see, bro.
I think Jorge I think he has the skills, though. Like, I don't want to sit here and shit on Jorge and be like, oh, he doesn't. I think he's very live in this fight. If it's his night, anything, it's the UFC, right? It's not like necessarily basketball, football, where you can almost kind of, it's a team sport and then take so many people to be off. I just think that Jorge, he's very live in this sense that he has knockout power. I mean, I've seen him finish people. I've seen him finish and crumbled, Cowboy. I've seen him finish people with Darce chokes. Who was that? He finished Michael Chiesa with a Darce choke. So I know he has finishing skills, but the power lately, like him putting people out cold, Darrien Till and even Jorge Masvidal, that is something that I'm taking into consideration because, coming up from 155 to 170, or when people move up a weight class, it's always usually a question on, is their power going to translate? And shit, it has. It is. So I think that is going to be his best chances to, create some chaos early, hit him, rock him, and make him get out.
So what's your prediction? I mean, I know you're taking Usman.
What's my prediction?
What round? How?
Prediction. Let me see. I'm really leaning two ways. I want to say like a third round. If it's a finish, I'll put it like this. If it's a finish, I'd say it's going to be Usman, like, I'll say fourth round, like ground and pound or submission. And if it goes to decision, I think, it's gonna be him by unanimous decision. Probably like 4 rounds to 1 or something.
I don't think Usman's gonna finish him. I think it'll be a decision. I think he's gonna win a decision. Yeah, I think it's gonna be. It's probably gonna be. I don't necessarily. I don't know. I just think overall he's gonna get a taste of what Jorge got the off on the feet. And he's gonna turn that shit into a wrestling game all day. He's just gonna out wrestle him. That's what I think.
That's fine. That's what you should do. Try to get in his ear, be like, look, bro, there's no need to. But what do you feel about the co-main event?